Hello, everyone. We are Group 6, and we are here today to present the book chapter review of chapters 9 and 10 of Fundamentals of Business Process Management. And our group members are Ajay, Varma, Vegesna, Srinivas, Sripedambudur, Tejaswini, Danda, Zohaib Khan. And myself, Srinivas, Sripedambudur, will start with the introduction and go with the chapter 9 today. And chapter 9 is Process Aware Information Systems. So, the contents of chapter 9 today we are going to discuss our process aware information systems, the types of process aware information systems, which are domain specific process aware and business process management systems. And we are also going to discuss architecture of BPMS, the case of ACNS, and the advantages of introducing BPMS as well as limitations of that. So, let's start with process aware information systems. The information systems that manages and execute operational processes involving people, applications, and information sources on the basis of process models are known as process aware information systems. These systems generally support process automation, and these are divided into two types: domain specific process aware information system and business process management systems. In the domain specific process aware information systems, it is subdivided into four systems. They are known as ERP systems, which are enterprise resource planning systems, customer relationship management systems, supply chain management system, product life cycle management system. So every system has its own particular field to work on. So coming to the ERP system, many industries, most of the industries and companies around the world require generic business functionality, which is provided by this ERP system. So this is very important system for industries which are looking for generic business functionality. And this system supports kind of accounting, human resource management, controlling, and production in the company. That there are two major processes which are covered by these ERP systems. Those are procure to pay and order to cash process. And coming to the next system, customer relationship management system. This is all about managing the relationship between the customer and the management. In this system, it stores the data of the customer and management interaction for the further cases. To not repeat the problems which already have been noticed by the customers. And this system support marketing and sales. It also helps in it also helps in document the interactions, uh, and this also helps in supporting the activities related to products, pricing, distribution, and campaigning. This system has two important processes, which are campaign to leads and lead to order process. Coming to the next two processes, supply chain management systems and product lifecycle management system. Supply chain management is about the supply chain of the company. Any company looking for a long run should always be focused about its supply chain. It should focus on the points which support that supply chain and also which can affect that supply chain. So this SCM systems mostly focus on support of logistical operations, and they support freight and transportation, warehousing, storage of the products, and inventory where products are stored. And these also support other tracking technologies like radio frequency identification and barcode scanning. There are two processes of this supply chain which are very key processes, which are order to delivery and return to refund. And coming to the other system, product lifecycle management system. This system is all about the life cycle of a product. From the stage of designing the product to the product being disposed of, the entire life cycle is mentioned in the system. It goes through the engineering phase. So it has two phases: realization phase, service phase. Realization phase is all about manufacturing system from the base and planning to design, and products are built, assembled, and tested. And in the service phase, products are the products which have been tested positive to be released into the market, are sold and delivered, used, maintained, and eventually disposed of. So we can understand that the two important processes of PLM systems are idea to launch a product and other different types of order processes. Next, coming to the second type of process aware information system, that is BPMS. BPMS is I mean it acts like a tool for the execution of management methodology to improve an organization's business process through several factors like identification, modeling, automation, analysis, and performance measurement. That all happen. I mean, all these things can be possible by using BPMS in the companies. BPMS is subdivided into four types: groupware systems, ad hoc workflow systems, and production workflow systems, case management systems. So here we're going to discuss about groupware system. Groupware systems is mostly about the user. I mean, the user has the access to share the documents and share the information around the system, and he can also directly communicate with the other users. The most popular groupware user is, the most popular groupware user system is IBM Notes, and it is also popular for its high operational flexibility. They do not support the business process directly. And the next system is ad hoc workflow system. This is all about allowing the on-fly processes which can create and modify, and also and there is also a possibility to adapt the process at the stage of execution. And the two major requirements to success of this system are: end users are aware of the process in which they operate. I mean, they understand what they are dealing with. And the other requirement is users have sophisticated tools and capability to model. And the other one is case management system. This is also known as adaptive case management system. In this case management system, it is entirely aware of the data used by a particular case, and it is also able to inform the user, inform the end user about the status and history, and also the steps he or she, the user have to continue with. The next system is product workflow system. This system is known as the most prominent type of business process management system because it is strictly based on the process models. I mean, it is entirely dependent on the process models. It cannot be deviated from the process logic. It is completely handled by the complementary DBMS. And we got two different type of BPMS. One is administrative BPMS, and the other one is transaction processing BPMS. Here, in the administrative BPMS, the entire work, the work is performed by the user, by people. The man work is there in the administrative BPMS. So it is, the settings are entirely worked by the people. In transaction process BPMS, it supports the process which are automated. I mean, there is very, very less man work, and the entire processes are automated. So this is the spectrum of BPMS. Here we can see that they are divided based on the two axles. In the left we see unstructured, ad hoc structured, implicitly structured, explicitly structured. This shows the degree of support that BPMS delivers in these systems. And the other axle shows the data driven and process driven. So this shows how these systems are are different from each other with respect to their orientation on process driven or data driven. This is the architecture of BPMS. This shows us the important tools in the architecture of BPMS, like process modeling tool, administration and monitoring tools. It also has a process model repository and other parts. This is the process modeling tool of Bonita BPMM. This this provides the user with three abilities. The user can create and modify the process models. He has the ability to annotate process models with additional data such as, input, output, participants, business tools, etc. This also provides the other ability which through which we can store, retrieve, and share process models from a process model repository. And this is the case of ANCS, in which we can see the various activities, specific activities performed, and the activities carried out by specific people in this, like inform customer and generate electronic invoice. All these are activities performed in the ANCS. So by here, uh, from here, my other teammate Tejaswini will continue with the chapter 9 and follow on. Thank you.
Hi, this is Tejaswini. I'm going to continue with the advantages of introducing BPMS. So there are four advantages. There are workload reduction, flexible system integration, execution transparency, and rule enforcement. The workload reduction is an advantage because it has a straight-through process and it needs less coordination and less gathering of the relevant information. So it is an advantage. The second one is a flexible system integration. It is because it has all the common functionalities of the process layer, and it is also easy to change the logic of the process, and it is also an island automation. The third one is the execution transparency. It is because the PPMS has its transparency in its operation information and transparency in historic information. So this is also an advantage. The last advantage is rule enforcement. It's because it has implementing control tasks, enforcing separation of duties, reducing the freedom of execution process, and these are all the main advantages of introducing BPMS. Next, please. Uh, the before one. More. Yeah. So these are the real-time examples that lead to introduce the BPMS. So the first one is an auditing agency has found that their written procedures and the executions of the business process were not aligned. So the management of this organization uh, implemented the procedures written and decided to introduce the PPMS. The second one is an insurance organization that finds out there is an urgent need of quickly adjust their claims processing to the offerings that its competitors bring to the market. So using BPMS, it considered to address this demand. The next one is the client one, the clients of the company, a company that complained that they can only get very shallow updates on their progress of the orders they make. The IT manager of the organization looks into the use of BPMS to capture and provide a status information on all these orders. Next. So these were the challenges of introducing a BPMS. The first ones are the technical challenges. Uh, there, the business processes were frequently overlooked while application is developed. And the second one is the screens, the screenscaping might be needed to integrate the input and output from the outdated systems. And the other one is the case content. It is used in the batch processing systems. The web service solutions, service oriented architecture, middleware, all these are all these are were the supported by integration. All the other ones are the organizational challenges. The challenges are complexity due to exceptions, adjust to the pace of organization on change, potential fears of process participants, strong management commitments are needed. Next. This is the robotic process automation RPA. Robotic process automation RPA. It is a novel class of systems that automate user tasks on computers. The RPA scripts can be developed by the recording repetitive users tasks that move data between several computer screens, and the robots can work on the tasks that are according to the scripts given by the users. The automation anywhere, Blue Prism, PGA were few software vendors specialized in this RPA. Next. Change management. It takes dozens of months to do the change management. So the factors of change management is often called as DICE. That means duration of initiative, integrity of the project team, commitment of top management, effort demanded from employees. All these were aligned, so it's a dice that it's easy to explain. The risk of the resistance. And the risk of the resistance or the potential lack is because the potential lack of support from the employees and the hidden competing commitments. And the caution that matters to are to avoid the premature victory of the celebration and the programmatic change fallacy. And the rest of the 10th chapter is continued by my friends. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Zohaib Khan, and I will be starting off with Chapter 10, Process Implementation and Executable Models. This chapter deals with turning conceptual models into executable models. These are the contents of this chapter. Just overall, the 5 steps to turn conceptual into executable models: symbolization, review manual tasks, complete process model. We're going to take a look at CMMN, specify execution properties, decision model notation, also known as DMN. We'll look at the DMN tables, and then we'll do a brief recap. So the 5 steps to turn conceptual executable models. Executable models can be used by process-aware information systems to coordinate a business process. Business process coordination. Executable models can be used by process-aware information systems, and we propose a systematic method for carrying out this transformation, which consists of 5 steps. The 5 steps: number 1, identify the automation boundaries, review manual tasks, complete the process model, bring the process model to an adequate level of granularity, and specify execution properties. By following this method, a conceptual model becomes less abstract and more IT oriented. And identify the automation boundaries. Can all processes be automated? No, they cannot. So basically, we have to recognize which parts of a process can be coordinated by the BPMS and recognize which parts of the process cannot be coordinated by the BPMS. And the conceptual model of business process. There are 3 types of tasks to be distinguished in line with the BPMN language. These are automated, manual, and user. Automated is completed by a BPMS or an external service. Manual is completed by process participants, and there's no software aid needed for this. And user is completed by participant. This requires assistance of the worklist handler of the BPMS or an external list manager. Next. Symbolization. So how can you tell between automated, manual, and user tasks in BPMN? So basically, there are specific marks on the top left corner of the task box. For manual tasks, there's a hand. For user tasks, there's a user icon. And automated tasks are classified into more subtypes than manual tasks and user tasks. These subtypes include the script marker. If the task executes some code, the script internally to the BPMS. We have service gears marker. If the task is executed by an external application, which exposes its functionality via service interface. We have business rule. We have that table marker for that. If the task triggers a business rule to be executed by a rules engine external to the BPMS. We have send, which is a filled envelope marker if the task sends a message to an external service. And we have receive, which is an empty envelope marker, and that's if the task waits for a message for an external service. Alrighty, so review manual tasks. The objective of this is, can the manual task be linked with the BPMS? The principle is, if the task is not apparent by BPMS, it does not exist. So basically, we want to find a way to support manual tasks via technology, or on the other hand, we need to isolate these tasks and automate the rest of the process. So how can you link a manual task to a BPMS? So basically, you can implement a user task, or you can implement as an automated task. However, linking manual tasks to BPMS is not always the answer. So complete the process model. So checkpoint, is the process complete? Once we have established the automation boundaries of the process and reviewed the manual tasks, we need to check that our process model is complete. Two principles underlie this step. Exceptions are the rule, and no data implies no decisions and no task handoff. Often, conceptual processes models neglect certain information because modelers deem it as irrelevant for the specific modeling purpose. They assume it is common knowledge, or they are simply not aware of it. Depending on the application scenario, it may be fine to neglect this information in the conceptual model. However, information that is not relevant in a conceptual model may be highly relevant for a process model to be executed. So bring the process model to an adequate granularity level. So we want to look at implementation, and conceptual model tasks may not be at the proper level of granularity. So basically these tasks can be too abstract. And when the task is too abstract, we need to decompose them. They could also be too detailed and they need to be aggregated. A BPMS adds value if it coordinates handoffs of work between resources. Decomposition of ad hoc subprocesses with CMMN. Rule. So basically, it's a subprocess that has tasks that are performed in an ad hoc manner without any predictable order is not suitable. Emphasis on not suitable for an automation via BPMN based BPMS. Case management system or ad hoc workflow system is recommended instead. If the BPMS supports the case management model, then there's no issue. And it also has to support the CMMN language. So CMMN, what is CMMN? It's a tongue twister, but nonetheless, it's case management model and notation. So basically, it's which tasks must be executed, although perhaps restricted by certain conditions. CMMN designates what must be achieved in a process, not how to achieve it. And it can be used as a type of sub-process in a BPMN model, contrary to. So keep in mind that tasks in a CMMN model may have BPMN sub-processes. Specify execution properties. In order to make the model fully executable, one must specify how each model element is effectively implemented by the BPMS of choice in the last step. And relevant execution properties are variables, messages, signals, errors, and their data types, data mappings, service details for service, send and receive tasks, and for message and signal events, code snippets for script tasks, participate assignment rules and user interface structure for user tasks, task, event, and sequence flow expressions, other BPMS specific properties. Next. Decision model and notation, also known as DMN, conditions that allow a process instance to be routed towards one or another path in the model can be quite complex. OMG is a company that has developed with decision model and notation standard, which can be used for specifying business rules. And DMN's 3 parts for the specification of business rules. DRG describes how data is propagated between different decisions. SFIEL defines how values are extracted from variables, and decision tables, which Ajay has gone into. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, I'm starting from user task and sequence. To process participants at runtime, we need to first specify the rules for allocating work items for each user task. And below are the sum of the allocation strategies for assigning work items. First one is direct allocation, which means the responsibility of participant for a task is defined at design time. In role-based allocation, a task is assigned to a specific role at design time. At runtime, work items are offered to all participations belonging to this role. Next one is deferred allocation. In this, participant will work on the task is only determined at runtime. Yeah. Next one is capability-based allocation. This allocation works on work items are made available to those participants who possess the right capabilities to work. In history-based allocation, work items are allocated to those participants who have successfully conducted them in the past. While coming to the random allocation, a new work item is allocated to a randomly selected participant who fulfills the allocation condition. After defining these rules for every user task, next step in execution properties is task, event, and sequence flow expressions. Here we need to write mathematical expressions for various tasks, events, and sequence flow with the specific conditions. For example, in a loop task, we need to write a Boolean expression indicating the loop condition. Next. Here we can see DMN and DMN table. DMN stands for decision model and notation. As the business rules happen to change over time, For example, when assessing credit risk of loan applicant, if the request of applicant is approved, it is convenient to change rules of model instead of changing whole process. Yeah. Here is a DMN table which captures rules for grading loan applications, where each table has name, it indicator, completeness indicator, and priority indicator. Each row represents a rule and column represents its respective inputs and outputs. For a particular combination of input attributes, we have to find the row that matches it and then grade of that row, which will be assigned to the input attributes. For example, if animal income is 250 and loan size is 4,000, and then we can assign that as grade as G. That means good. Next slide. So we are talking about last mile. In the turning a process into executable one is to add BPMS of our choice. Below these are three categories of the BPMS, which are like pure BPMN, adapted BPMN, and non-BPMN. In pure BPMN, they follow the specifications to the letter and are designed to support BPMN natively. While in adapted BPMN, these tools use a BPM scheme but rely on internal representation to execute the process model. Whereas in non-BPMN, these tools do not support BPMN but use their own proprietary language and semantics. Examples of such system is a BPMS will not be fully covered with all aspects of BPMS specifications, which relevant for execution. Next slide. These are the references which we are took from textbook and the BPMS page. These are end. Thank you so much.
All right, guys, this is about the chapter review of chapters 9 and 10 by group 6. Thank you so much. And I would like to, you people can ask your questions in the D2L page, discussion page, and we would like to respond to those questions. Thank you. Signing off.